Hey Kelly, what's up?
Hi, Jason. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I heard that you're back in town. I thought we might get together to have lunch or so.
Yeah. Hey, can I ask you something?
Sure?
Who knows everything about me?
Only God knows everything about you. And yourself, of course.
And what about the devil? Does he know my thoughts, too?
Games, Brains, and Head-Banging Life. We're taking a look at a horror movie. Well, more of a sort of horror thriller. Thriller with horror elements. It's Anonymous 616 from 2018. Written and directed by Mike Boss. It stars, well, it's mainly just 4 people. And it is Daniel Llewellyn plays Jason. Jessica Boss plays Jenna. David Abransky plays Eric. And Lena Aroma plays Monica. 4 friends, 4 adult friends who are reuniting basically after what I gather is a fairly significant amount of time when they haven't seen each other.
Yeah.
Or at least the 2 men haven't seen each other.
Yeah, because of their jobs.
Seemingly so. But we actually open with we open in that frustrating way, although here it's a little forgivable because we don't quite know what has happened.
Yeah.
And we open with part of the ending, which is a bloodbath, effectively, inside a house where we see several characters are dead.
Yeah.
We have, just sort of lying around, we have Jenna, which is Jessica Boss. She's sitting in a chair with a bag over her head. We have Eric, David Abransky, although we don't know their names at the time, who appears to be nailed to the wall and with his head caved in, effectively. And we have Monica, who's lying on the couch naked, but with blood on her head and so on. And then lying on the floor with a knife in his back, his top shoulder, is Jason, which is Daniel Llewellyn. And he's the one that's waking up.
Yep.
And he wakes up and he's basically, what the fuck is going on? Right?
Yeah, got a knife in his back.
Yeah.
And it's quite disorientating for the viewer as well, which is kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
We did kind of start with like, oh, it's throwing you straight in, starting with the end. But again, like you said, it doesn't end there.
No,
So
no,
it's
that's not
ending.
the ending.
Yeah.
It's a precursor to what will be the finale.
Yeah.
But it's I'm more okay with this because, well, let's get it now. Jason, Daniel Llewellyn's character, is effectively the villain of this movie.
Yeah.
But at the start, you wouldn't know that.
No.
Like, no, it's not like it starts and says, "Oh, here's our villain."
Because he's a victim as well.
Because right in our eyes, he's a victim as well, who may have just survived what looks like a brutal attack.
Yeah.
Be honest, if you'll just think it's like you're watching what is probably a home invasion horror movie here.
Yeah.
E.g., they were attacked in the night.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But Jason basically, I guess, almost has memory, starts to remember what went on, and we effectively retell the story. And so, as we said, it's 2 sets of friends, 2 sets of couples. So we've Jason and Jenna, they're a couple, and Eric and Monica are another couple. And Jason and Jenna have come to Eric and Monica's home, new build home as well. Importance is laid out that they're one of the first people moving into a new build area.
Yeah.
So there's like no neighbours around and stuff like that. And they played it off in a whole we can party as loud as we want kind of thing. And it's a good way to kind of go, okay, well, that's why no one's around.
Yeah.
So the characters, let's get the things that make them who they are out now. So Jason's the important one. And he's basically in the army.
Yep.
And he's done a few tours. And throughout the conversation tonight, we will delve a little deeper into that, where he'll talk about some more horrifying stuff he's dealt with and all that. But he seems like a very well-adjusted man nonetheless.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Catching up with friends. It all seems fairly normal at the start.
Oh, it's very, very much, very natural, very, very sort of relaxed. I don't think the dialogue comes across. There's a there's a portion where I think it's a little bit cheesy, but we'll get to that, I think.
Yeah.
And we have Jenna, I believe she's a school teacher.
Yeah.
That's right, she's a school teacher. Eric's the difficult one and never really properly explains what he does. But I think he's in...
He's got money.
He's got money, but I think it's in to do with, what do you call it, house selling and stuff like that.
Not retail.
Retail.
Not letting agents.
Yeah, whatever. What is the
it
American
called?
version of that called? What we would, which would be an estate agent kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's an estate agent, effectively, that sort of thing, you know. And Monica, she's an artist.
I thought she was the reception. Oh, no, she is, because she plays...
She's a secretary at the place they work, but she's an artist as well, because her art's around the home. So basically, that's the four... I don't want to say character traits, but that's the four things, that their jobs and stuff like that. Character-wise, as we already said, we described Jason. He's intense. He can be quite intense. Daniel DeWelden, he's got a look about him, and when he talks, like... you always get the impression that, even early on, that if you said a wrong thing, he might jump down your throat. But he's...
I feel like it's that's kind of like a common army trait. Not like the intense part, but like... When you're in the army, you do things a set way. So when you come home, I think part of that kind of stays. So you've got like a set way of doing things, and you carry it into your normal life. So I feel like he's got a very set way of looking at things and talking about things. So that's what I feel about him.
He is. Well, say it now. He is the star of this film.
Yeah.
He is easily the standout star of this film. He is brilliant throughout it. Jenna, she just comes across nice, just nice. And her and Jason, I think their relationship is believable. They do come across
comfortable
and happy, and they do love each other and stuff like that. Then we have Eric, David Abramsky. Instantly, he's not that he's very unlikable, but you do go douche.
You kind of come across, you think of it smug and stuff. But it's kind of one of them friends where you don't know if they'd be friends. They know each other now.
Yes, kind of exactly that. Exactly that. Yeah, like they might have been met at a different point in their life, and that's what's kind of kept them friends. But if they met each other now,
would they be friends?
Yeah. And Eric's got a bit of a habit where he likes to tease Jason and stuff like that. It's the old I'm only messing around, bro, that kind of thing. And Monica's probably the least defined. I think the least defined
because she's the newest to the group. So that kind of does kind of lead in. And if they kind of gave us too much about her, it would look like it was just forced in.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. So she's new to the group. They're trying to find out about her as we are as well, because she's new to the group, and they're making friends of her, and she's engaged to him, isn't she?
Yeah, and she has a child from a previous relationship. So we'll get out now. She's got very preteen.
I'd say teen.
Preteen.
14. I would go for 14.
Yeah, and I mean that age is actually important for sort of the weirdy parts of this thing. And that's Emily, played by Bella Shepherd. So we briefly see her. She's quite young, still got a bit of kiddiness about her and stuff like that, as we'll see later on. And she's in a house, but basically she's staying in her room with headphones on, that kind of thing. That's quite important as well for what will occur later on. So basically, a lot of the first portion of the movie, I'd say the first third of the movie, is bants.
Yeah.
Back and forth conversations.
Drinking.
Delving more into Jason's time in the army more than anything else. Jokes back and forth. And then it leads to drugs. So I don't really know what this drug is. Shrooms? Mushrooms, I think it is. Some form of that, right?
It's a
psychedelic.
Yeah.
It's a psychedelic, whatever it is. Because basically, everyone's up for it. Jason's never done something like that, or at least done this and so on. It's kind of sold to him about the whole like, you'll have this really freeing and feel like free and filled with love and all that. This is the part where I will say I think it's a little cheesy when they're describing the experience and all that. But I was just filled with love and open and all that. And it's like, okay.
I had a complaint that the girl, while she was 14, I don't think I would take a massive trip like that with my daughter in the house. Just because you don't know the whole thing about drugs and the trip is you don't know the outcomes of it. Like, that girl was going to be left with four adults tripping.
Yeah, but from what I gather, the majority have done it before, and to them it's like relaxing more than anything else. It's not about we're going to go on the roof now and start pissing in the wind, that kind of thing. Yeah. You know? I
still find it a bit odd that they would trip.
Well, as we said during it, and it's what we've already said as well, she's not a baby, she's not a child, she's self-sufficient, and it's clear, like, look, just stay in your room, that kind of thing. You're going to be partying tonight. Yeah, that kind of thing. She might be used to her parents, or like, that part of the fact, her mother and potential future stepfather partying a fair bit. But Jason he has a bit of a bad trip. He has a bit of a psychedelic flash kind of thing that ends up resulting in him vomiting up and stuff like that. And this is where it kind of ramps up into the second act, so to speak. So he ends up in a separate room where there's a Mac, a computer. And that computer is turned on, and basically he gets contacted via IM, via someone, for an instant messenger service. And this instant messenger service talks to him about how it knows him.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Of course, he doesn't believe it, but he's kind of just having some fun back and forth kind of thing.
Like
Curious,
how,
you know?
yeah.
But eventually this thing reveals, whatever's on the other side, this person on the other side of the IM reveals that it knows stuff about him that no one could know.
Yeah.
And in particular, an event that occurred when he was on tour, which suggests that he may have killed someone, an insurgent who was innocent or something like that. And it shocks him quite to his core. And basically, the idea is this person on the other side of the IM line is trying to encourage him to let go of his, what would you call it, restrictions, let go of his fears and doubts and just be what he wants to be.
Yeah, if he's got impulses, act on them.
Yeah, act on those impulses. And so it initially tests him as well by saying, look, for 5 minutes, just act on those impulses. Don't let any barriers. And it involves a scene with Emily as she comes past, and he basically gets a little bit pervy with her.
Little bit, yeah. He's like, oh, let me take a picture. So he's like makes her wear like she's got a top on, but he's like, oh, pull it up, make it like a crop top.
Yeah, he touches her, calls her beautiful a lot, and
Yeah.
it's a bit of a mix. She's quite good here as well because she's still got that kind of kiddie thing. And for example, he says about how he's talking on the IM and all that, and she's like, oh, you're silly, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when he's complimenting her, she's got that whole young woman thing going on where she's quite taken in by it and stuff like that, which is a nice touch. So after that's done, he feels quite empowered. You can see his reaction when he's sitting down. He's like, oh, it made me feel great kind of thing. Yeah. And basically, the IM thing turns him and starts to twist him into thinking or believing that Jenna and Eric have slept together in the past. And it's something apparently that he suspected deep down as well, because it's basically confirming what he's worried about. So he decides to go confront them about it. And thus we enter a period of just uber violence, uber intensity and nastiness, where he basically attacks his friends. Yeah. He ends up using a nail gun on Eric to staple his hands to the wall and tries to torture him that well. He's trying to basically get them to confess. Yeah. He ties up Jenna. He tries to suffocate her on and off with a bag, but obviously then doesn't in the end. And it is quite, there's a lot of uncomfortable elements to this, particularly as what he does to Monica, which is he forces her to strip. So if you want some nudity, you get it here in that front. And then he rapes her while she's unconscious, because he knocks her out and rapes her while she's unconscious. And to him, he feels that this is him and Eric even. Yeah. Because Eric and Jenna do reveal that they did sleep together once in the past.
I think they were. I don't think they did. I feel like it's the whole cliche of torture. Tell me a name and I'll stop torturing you. Okay, Bob. You know, that's just to stop it happening. Like, just kind of go, right. Just say, because they kind of look at each other like, he looks totally like for real blank, and she's just obviously panicking. And they just say it, so I feel like I don't think they did. I think they just had to shut him up.
I believe you, and I agree with you on that. The reason being is because they constantly jump back and forth between the whole, like, yeah, we did, and then they're like, we fucking didn't, that kind of thing. So that does work quite nicely.
Trying to placate him a bit.
Yeah, this isn't the sequence of events isn't uncomfortable watching. It's the more harrowing side of this.
The light as well. It's quite a grey-looking film.
Yeah, and it's got that bright light of like every light being on in the room. There's nothing being hidden here or anything like that. And as we've already said, Daniel DeWelden does brilliantly in this to switch from... Because the thing is, he never came across warm and caring and lovable, that kind of thing. So it's not completely out the realm as a possibility. Is it a stretch for someone to go from that to this?
No, it was quite hot. Like when he was talking about certain points, it's like in their pre-nut
job stuff, yeah.
There was a part where he was talking about kind of like religion and all this kind of stuff, and it seemed like he was quite hard-edged about things anyway, probably from the army. What you see, you kind of have to draw lines between things. So I think, like he might have, you don't know, because you don't know their relationship beforehand, he might have had suspicions, just like mild ones that, Jenna just brushed off, and obviously it just ramps up.
I am okay with it. Because he plays it with a certain level of intensity. And a lot of the time he's kind of just speaking softly as well, speaking normally and things like that. And the whole acting on his impulses and stuff like that. You don't know by the end as well, like, because it's very, not vague is the wrong word, but very, very ambiguous about the events that may have actually occurred. How much was it him? Was he, for the encouragement and stuff like that? I only have one major flaw with this sequence that bothered me at the time, and on a rewatch, bothered me again.
Okay.
And it's Eric. So Eric gets his hands nailed to the wall.
Yeah.
Once his hands are nailed to the wall, he never acts in pain about it. He never acts like he's like, oh, I'll fucking kill you, that kind of thing and all that. I mean, you got fucking put nails, you know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because after a while the adrenaline would wear off and you would just be like...
Every time he move,
move.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
every time he tries to move, that's the only part where I was
Yeah.
but like, okay. But he ends up beating Eric to death with a blunt object. Gets splattered with blood with that. He ends up suffocating Jenna and killing her that way. And basically talking back and forth between the anonymous person on the other end of the IM. It's basically you can become a god.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, you can become this powerful and you're going to need to eat the heart of a virgin, effectively. And as soon as you hear it, you're like, well, that's probably going to be the kid, isn't it? That's probably going to be Emily, right?
It is.
Yeah, you know, it's probably going to be Emily and stuff like that. But even he seems a bit like, can I go through this? Can I go through this? Can I go through this? We only ever see him sort of entering or like approaching the bedroom door. You never see anything else, but
Yeah.
you do then see him throwing a heart into a frying pan.
Yeah.
And he's sitting down to eat it. He like proper knife and fork and all that. This is when Monica wakes up from her head injury and actually stabs him with a knife in the back, which is what we saw. She instantly collapses and seemingly dies straight afterwards, which I did think was a little bit strange. Like the shot was a little odd. She stabs him. He gets up and he's like, oh. And then the next shot, she's still like lying down, like unconscious.
Yeah. Then she made you come round.
Maybe show that then.
Yeah.
Like just like show her collapsing instantly, that kind of thing. But he ends up collapsing from his wound, and then we're back to where we began, basically. So him now remembering what effectively happened, he still seems quite shocked by the sort of events initially, particularly when he goes to Emily's bedroom and finds her body wrecked.
Yeah.
Rickety
the
wrecked.
room's a mess.
Yeah, it is wrecked. And he then sets about trying to clean up the evidence. We get a pretty cool, well done, long, fairly lengthy sequence of how much level he's going to cleaning up to try and hide it. You know?
He did hide something. He just flipped
Poorly.
The mattress. He just flipped the mattress.
He goes a lot of lengths and then just flips the mattress and it's a bit like,
They go.
Jason, do you know what I mean? We say that, however, let's argue the fact that maybe his plan was, I'm going to come back for that. I can't get rid of the mattress right now. Because ultimately...
It did take quite a lot of time. So, yeah, you would kind of do...
If this place is spotless, there's nothing... Do you know what I mean? You were like, oh, forensics. Like, but what you wouldn't be calling forensics in because there's nothing to find.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? They just wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So your natural thing would be they left.
Yeah.
Not that they were murdered there.
That makes sense.
Like the amount of blood and guts and all that, he'll have missed something anyway.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. We should also mention that during the film, at a certain point, it references that he also cheated on his girlfriend.
Yep.
He cheated on Jenna with Kelly, is it? I think it's Kelly. We never see her. We never hear her voice on the phone. And she basically is the daughter of a local pastor.
Yeah, at the beginning, it's clear that he's obviously got attraction to younger girls. When it says about, or the IM says, you had an affair, like how you slept with the pastor's daughter, at that point I was like, how old? You kind of question how old was she? Has he kind of got like history of doing this, which he probably has. But then you find out she is an adult.
Yeah.
An adult, so obviously still cheating, but not going down the route of openly saying what he was doing.
No, I mean, ultimately Jason is a very flawed man. Violent, overtly sexual tendencies, stuff like that. There's a fair bit wrong with him, you know. And the film doesn't, you know, it's easy to go, oh, okay, well, obviously they're trying to pour scorn upon like army and stuff like that. I never got that. It doesn't create that link strong enough to sort of be like, well, this is army life that's made him this way.
No, I mean you could say that. I mean you could say that it's people need therapy in general, not going for it, and just something pushes them over the edge. Which you could argue in this case was the drugs that started off the
absolutely
events. You know,
absolutely.
I mean they do show that vomiting him up, but obviously it's still still going around his system, and if he's got tendencies anyway, then that's the plot.
Well, the whole point is we have this question mark over was was he imagine it? Was it part of his trip? Was the IM conversations part of his trip and stuff like that? And effectively, we kind of get an answer that I think you can interpret in different ways if you so choose.
Yeah.
As he's going to leave, and he's basically packed up bodies and suitcases and stuff like that, he's going to leave, he opens up the garage door, and there's a man waiting for him. It's Pastor Warren, played by Miles Cranford. And basically, Miles Cranford, Pastor Warren, talks to him, and he's very cool, he's very collected at first and stuff like that, until basically Pastor Warren effectively reveals that he knows exactly what's happened here. and so on. And then he's like, he basically gets Jason to look beyond, like, stop looking at me, look beyond.
Yeah.
And it's into focus, you see police. There are police with guns, and it's game over for Jason. He ends up committing suicide, and it, like, Pastor Warren was never there. He's almost like a spirit, so to speak. Jason ends up shooting himself and dying that way. Now, I've always interpreted this movie as this, which is this was a battle for Jason's soul, God and the devil.
Yep.
And it was the devil was on the other end, and the other was 616, because he also flashes back to certain events, like a memory flashes, and we see it from other perspectives. And one of the best examples is when Emily, when she was calling him silly, when he said he was talking to someone, we see it from her perspective. Computer was never on. It was never even plugged in.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yep.
So I interpret it as it was a battle for Jason's soul. By him effectively committing suicide, the devil wins. And Pastor Warren was the representation of God. Who was giving him the opportunity. Because he even says to him about, look, you're going to go to prison, and then you're going to get the electric chair or whatever. You're going to get executed X amount of years down the line. But during that period of time, you could argue he could repent. And he could then be welcomed into the arms of God, so to speak. But by committing suicide, he has damned his soul
to hell. It does make you wonder, like, that maybe because he was talking on the phone to the pastor's daughter, and she might have picked up that he was a bit odd. I mean, she might have known he might have been a bit odd tendencies, but it does seem a bit like some of the things that he was saying, she just interpreted as what. Because he asked her weird questions, didn't he?
Yeah, he does ask a weird question. He asks him if he's okay and stuff like that, and then he's like, no, we'll meet up next week at some point, that kind of thing.
Do you know Latin? Do you know Latin?
Yeah, this is when he's trying to work out the Latin phrase that's said to him during the IM stuff. There's little small details we are glossing over because we can't go into that in depth. Just watch it yourself. But ultimately, there is something supernatural at work here. That is what you get. Now, for some people, I think they might find that a little bit disappointing or a little bit of too much of a curveball for the ending, so to speak, considering it's mostly based in reality or feels like it is. But I actually really like the ending. I think it's one of the strongest parts of the movie because had it just been bad guy does bad things and bad guy gets away with it or gets shot down by the police, I'd have been like, hey, it's all right.
Would have been too cold, I thought it left me too cold. I like the fact that, you know, he had consequences. You know, you couldn't become a god just because you want to act out these fantasies, and he got caught doing it.
Yeah.
So, especially the whole family as well. Like, they didn't deserve, for all their kind of flaws as people, they didn't deserve.
Oh yeah, they didn't deserve this. Then you know, we joke around that Eric's a bit obnoxious and stuff like that, but you know, that does not result in him getting killed.
Yeah.
His girlfriend, his fiance, getting killed, raped and then killed, and her daughter being murdered as well, mutilated as well. It doesn't warrant any of this. You know, it's just I say it's ambiguous in the sense that I think it's open to interpretation. You can see it many different ways. You can say you could even, if you wanted to say that by the end Jason was still tripping, that the drugs really fucked him up and stuff like that, which is why he couldn't really see the police and why he bought into all of this and stuff like that. Me personally, I really do like the idea of it being a battle for someone's particular soul. They may have got the attention from the moment he killed that insurgent back in Iraq, Afghanistan, wherever he was doing his tour. But overall, I think it's a good film. I think it's a very good film. I think what really ultimately stands out more than anything else, and it has to be said, is Daniel de Welden, who is front and centre throughout this. He is the star, but he plays so many different versions, even up to the very end when he has to play this calm, cool, collected, you know, what are you talking about kind of thing. I'm trying to get away with murder here. I think he's brilliant.
He is really good. I think it's like the levels of, because they do unpick his character, and it's not all done in one go. It doesn't go from like a Jekyll and Hyde. It's kind of, they unpick. Someone says, so for example, when he goes back from the computer back to talking to Eric says something, and then he's like, what do you mean by that? Like, and then starts. Sometimes what happen if someone's had like too much drink, or like, we've all seen it, so you've asked someone that you know a question and they don't like the way you're asking it, they can,
absolutely,
they can go down a different path, and it's like, it's quite good to show that there was no kind of maniacal screeching and then back to normal. It was kind of, it all just kind of starts to unravel and then it goes full on violent with everyone. Yeah. It's well worth checking out. It's not too long either. I think it moves along at a decent, snappy enough pace. You know, character building stuff is important to at least, I wouldn't say make you give a shit, because I wouldn't suggest that you massively care about the characters coming to the end. No. But the events have to have a little bit more horror to them, and we get that by delving deeper into everyone overall. Definitely. It's one of those movies that you won't come away at the end feeling good. And I think that's kind of cool. It's quite bleak.
Yeah. Let us know what you think of it in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?